Hey everybody, welcome to the Luscious.life. I'm Lucia, if this is your first time here, and if it's not your first time here, hello, hola. I want to talk about Gabrielle Bernstein's Super Attractor. I'm actually finished it because I couldn't stop myself, but I'm gonna not talk about the whole book today, just a little bit. I mentioned before I was going to read it and talk to you guys about it. I've attracted some pretty wild things into my life. And none yet, interestingly, that I have on my manifest list or in my mind. Just other really cool things started to happen. So that was fantastic. But I do want to talk about, I have my notes here, chapter 1. Because chapter 1 has been a game changer for me. I have an insane monkey mind. I think all the time. I dream all the time. I think all the time. I'm getting much better at not worrying 24/7 about things that haven't even happened yet. But when I spiral and I go dark, then that's not good. So chapter 1, The Universe Always Delivers, was so helpful to me, and I've been using it ever since I read it, and what a difference. Because the fact is, unless you are clinically depressed or have a serious mental health issue, you can choose what kind of day you want to have, or what kind of mood you want to have, or if you want to let it spiral. I've always believed that, and I've talked about it before. You know, if you wake up and the first thing that happens is you stub your toe getting out of bed, which is the worst, by the way, you can just let that spiral. You can be like, yeah, and then everything will go bad because that's the mindset that you're in. So there's 3 steps. 1 is notice the thought. Number 2 is forgive the thought. And 3 is choose again. And one thing she mentions later on in the book that I think is fantastic is if you can't get to step 3, at least get to step 2, forgiving yourself. So when I start to go rogue and dark and angry or worrying like crazy, I notice the thought and I'm okay with it. And she tells you to write it down. And that has been helpful because it makes me focus. So I have my journal. She has journals as well that you can get from her website, but I happen to have this beautiful little book that I love. So I use this for notes in books that I read. You notice the thought. I write it down, what it is, what I'm thinking about. Then I forgive myself for it, because beating yourself up for it isn't going to do any good. I really believe a lot of people on a spiritual path, because they're not, and zen and floating in the stars, they think they're doing something wrong, and that's not the case. Everybody has bad days. Jesus had days where he was like, are you kidding me? Which he would say to the disciples, like, what more do I need to do for you people, for you to believe? But that's a whole other topic. So we're not perfect, we're human, and nobody's perfect. And I don't even know what perfection really is. It shouldn't be you could make a perfect cake or a perfect meal. And I bet if you told the chef it was perfect, they might take that and really like it. But I wonder if in their head they're like, those potatoes could have just been a little creamier, or whatever the situation. Then you forgive yourself. Now, let's say it's really dark and you're like, I just can't choose again. I can't choose a better thought. So what she means by that is think about something that makes you happy. So what I'll do is immediately get into gratitude. I will stop thinking about that negative thing, and I'll just start thinking about all the things I'm grateful for, and I'll start writing them. But if you can't get to step 3, that's okay. Just forgive yourself. Go through it and move on, because if you suppress, I'm telling you from personal, I know this. If you try to suppress an angry thought and you don't write it out or think about it or deal with it, and I don't mean go lash out at somebody, but if you don't deal within yourself, it's going to sit there and sit there and sit there, and then one day it'll just come flying out over something unrelated, and it's just not a good idea. It has been a game changer. I highly recommend, male or female, read this book. It's very helpful. I'll talk about other chapters in the book that really, really jazzed me a great deal. I kind of am enjoying the process of controlling my emotions. And sometimes if I don't have my journal, I can notice the thought, forgive the thought, and choose again right then and there. And I don't have to write it down. I just move on and carry on, and I feel 1,000 times better. I'm dying to hear if you're reading it or if you've read any of her past books. You don't have to have read her past books to read this book. I highly would suggest The Universe Has Your Back as well. Go get this book. I know some people like to listen to audio, and she has audiobooks, but I write in my books. I highlight my books. So I am a lover of owning books. And many times I will go back to a book and just read what I highlighted, because I know that that's what spoke to me. And I find when I go back to A Course in Miracles before I carry on, because that's a big book, I will go back and read my highlighted just to get my mind in the game again and then go from there. But whatever. You do whatever works for you. That's all that matters. I hope everybody's had a fabulous week. I'm dying to hear if you're reading it, if you're using any of the tools, and which ones work for you. Oh, and I just have a funny story on a whole nother note. If you see behind me, those are all my scarves. I always forget to wear them. Probably because they're in the back of my door, and my door is usually open. But the other day I was like, oh, I want to wear a scarf. So I put on one and took a picture, and then I put on another one and took a picture, and I put it on Facebook and said, hey, which scarf for tonight? And I had to, I've been very lucky. I'm very rarely shamed. You know what I feel about shaming. But somebody wrote, hi, it's the 70s. Stop wearing scarves, Lucia. And something. And I was like, what? No, they weren't shaming me. They just were saying, don't wear a scarf. Now, I had to stop for a minute, because at first I was like, how dare you tell me not to wear a scarf? And then I had to laugh, because my friends all send me pictures when they're shopping and go, buy this or don't buy this. I'm like, hells no. What, do you want to look like you're pregnant? And I'll say all that. So I had to laugh, because she was giving me back what I give when I'm asked my opinion. So I know people ask me because I'm honest. And if I tried to lie, I wear it on my face. So that was just a funny story that happened. And I wore the white and black scarf and enjoyed every minute of it. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week. I did mention in my last video that we wouldn't be up every Tuesday. We'll be up every couple of weeks. We've got some stuff going on, so we can't hit that Tuesday deadline. But stick with us, hit the bell so you always know when new videos are coming. Subscribe. Thank you so much for your support. Mwah!